Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Osama Sayyid from Islam After Ahmadiyya. This is another Bites of Truth episode. This one is regarding Mirza Ghulam's 80-year prophecy that he's going to live to 80 years old. There are a few references that I will be reading out, and the first thing I'm going to read is that from Ruhani Khaza'in volume 5, Aina Kamalati Islam, page 288. This is crucial, and this applies to any of Mirza Ghulam's prophecies. This one and the following one. Now I quote, "Let it be known to the wrong-thinking people that to know whether I am truthful or a liar, there is no better test than my prophecies." The second reference now is from Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 15, Tiryakul Qulub, page 382. And I quote, "To turn out a liar in your own prophecies is the biggest disgrace of disgraces." Now these two quotes are, again, that they are relevant to any of Mirza Ghulam's so-called prophecies. And you have to listen and really be honest with yourself and be fair when you listen to these quotes, because he has said it himself. Nobody forced Mirza Ghulam to make these statements. He is telling people that there is nothing more, there's nothing better to prove my truthfulness than my prophecies. And again, obviously, the fulfillment of his prophecies to see if he's a truthful person or a liar. And also he says that to turn out a liar in your own prophecies is the biggest disgrace of disgraces. Now, of course, this video, we have plenty of evidence in this video to prove that this 80 years prophecy failed miserably, actually. And so we need the listeners to remember these two quotes. Now I'm going to move to the first reference where Mirza Ghulam he gives a prediction or a prophecy about his age. It's in Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 21, Baraheen Ahmadiyya, part 5, page 258. And I quote, "Now my age is near 70 years, and 30 years have passed that God Almighty notified me in clear words that your life will be of 80 years, or 5 or 6 years more, or 5 or 6 years less." End quote. Now for the listeners, any sharp listener would immediately pick up on the 5 or 6 years more or 5 or 6 years less. Now that, even though it's really hideous, there are a couple of points I want to make on this, is that this Mirza has given himself a 12-year window, to a margin of error of 12 years, and he thinks this is called a prophecy. Giving it a 12-year margin of error for, people say like, let's say for argument's sake, maybe someone will say a month or a week. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of all the worlds, of all the galaxies, the creator of all of us, of everything, in the whole universe, is telling him, I'm sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can tell him something more accurate, right? Here he's got a 12-year gap. Now 5 or 6 years less than 80 would be 74 or 75 years old. 5 or 6 years more would mean he'd be 85 or 86. Now I'll come back to this reference in a second, in a minute or two, because I need to read the next references, and I'll link it. In page 159, the same Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 21, Baraheen Ahmadiyya, part 5, but this is page 159. I will quote now. "And nor is it Allah Almighty's promise that my life will definitely be more than 80 years. But regarding this, the word in the divine revelation contains a hidden hope that if God Almighty wishes, then the age can be even more than 80 years. And the clear words in regards to the promise in the revelation, they define between 74 and 86 year life. And God Almighty repeatedly in his revelation states that we will show this sign for you, and tell them that this sign will be proof of my truthfulness. The page is actually page 259 of this quote that I just provided. So it's page 259 of Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 21, Barahin Ahmadiyya, part 5, page 259. Obviously I made an error earlier a few seconds ago. I said 159, it's 259. That's the end of that quote, by the way. The next one is from Ruhani Khaza'in, volume 13, Kitab al-Bariyah, page 177. And this is what Mirza Ghulam says. I quote now. Now my personal biography is this, that my birth was in 1839 or 1840, during the last era of the Sikhs' rule. And in 1857, I was 16 or 17, I was 16 or in my 17th year, and my beard had not commenced yet. So obviously Mirza Ghulam here, he said it in clear words that he was born in 1839 or 1840, and to qualify that further, he says that in 1857 he was 16 or 17. So obviously simple mathematics, 1857 minus 17 would be 1840. Or let's say if he was 16 in 1857, no problem. We can actually, that will actually make it 18, will actually go over that. But the point is that Mirza Ghulam, if he was born even in 1839, and we know he died in May 1908, that would make him 69 years old. 69 years old. The minimum age that he died would have been 68 if he was born in 1840. So maximum, the highest age that Mirza Ghulam, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's because of the whole uncertainty about, the gap of 1 year gap about his date of birth. But the absolute oldest age that Mirza Ghulam died at was 69. Now, let's go back here again to the previous references that were stated, that Mirza Ghulam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Almighty, the Supreme, said that he would have lived, God said that he will live to 80 years, 5 or 6 years more or 5 or 6 years less. So that means 74 minimum, 74 years of age, maximum 86. Mirza Ghulam died, his maximum age was 69. So even if we go on the minimum, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supposedly told him, which is 74 years old, he died 69. So he died 5 years before even the minimum of the prophecy that he claimed, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him this. So he failed his prophecy, even the minimum age of 74, he failed that by 5 years. So this is how bad 5 years, people, 5 years, not 5 months or 5 weeks or even 6 months or something. No, 5 whole years he got it wrong, and not forgetting that he already gave himself a 12-year window. Now Ahmadis listening to this, please listen with honesty. Be honest with yourself. You can hear what I'm saying to you, and you can read the references that are in front of your that's on your screen. You can get this from Al-Islam, your own Ahmadiyya website. These references are authentic. They are Mirza Ghulam's writings. You are probably feeling shocked because you're thinking, how can it be so obvious, so blatant, so clear, and yet the Ahmadiyya community doesn't tell you, doesn't actually hint or show you these evidences. That's because it's not in their interest to show you that their prophet is a false claimant, and that his prophecies, especially many others that we've already shown in videos, but this one about his 80-year age prophecy failed absolutely miserably. I know it's shocking for you to be looking at these references. This isn't some mullah thing like, some Ahmadis, they come up with the most awful excuses. They say stuff like a Maulvi told you this, or this is Mirza Ghulam's writing. So if you want to call someone a Maulvi, call Mirza Ghulam a Maulvi, because he's the one I'm reading his writings. I'm reading Mirza Ghulam's writings. So if you want to say a Maulvi gave me this evidence, well then you're calling Mirza Ghulam, your so-called promised Messiah, a Maulvi. This is something that is very, very important. And remember, Mirza Ghulam failed his prophecy. And remember what I said in the beginning of the video is that Mirza Ghulam himself said in Aina Kamalat Islam, page 288, they said, "Let it be known to the wrong-thinking people that to know whether I am truthful or a liar, there is no better test than my prophecies." And then the next one, Ruhani Khazan, volume 15, Tiryaq al-Qulub, page 382, he says, "To turn out a liar in your own prophecies is the biggest disgrace of disgraces." This Mirza Ghulam here, he wrote these things. No mullah wrote these things. None of his enemies wrote these things. Nobody forced Mirza Ghulam to write this. He wrote this of his own volition. And yet he still failed his age prophecy by 5 years, and that's given him the absolute maximum of every maximum, given his age maximum 69 and going to the minimum of his supposed prophecy, which is 74 years. So 69 to 74, 5 years lost. He missed out on the prophecy by 5 years, and already the prophecy had a 12-year window. So it was already basically cheating by giving himself a 12-year gap, and he still failed it by 5 years. I want, inshallah, the listeners to ponder upon this. Check the references, please. Also, check all our next videos and our previous videos. And if you've got any questions, honestly, please send us either an email or you can write a comment. We are seekers of truth and we are presenters of truth, inshallah. We don't ever present anything that we're not sure about. We don't ever put any pages up without verifying and checking the translation. We are not interested at all in misleading Ahmadis, and we know this is a massive life decision. So inshallah, may Allah reward you for your patience and reward you for having an open heart, and reward you also for being good with your fellow Muslims and not just accusing people who present you, with Mirza Ghulam's writings that some mullah gave it to them, or that they just have something personal against Mirza Ghulam. Well, we do actually have something personal against Mirza Ghulam because we found out what he's done to people. But it's all based on truth. It's all based on his writings. This is Osama Sayyid from Islam After Ahmadiyya saying Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.